So, yes, I do post the recordings though. So that if there is an issue like that where for some reason, your connection wasn't that great that day, or you have an absence or something like that, you can always review these at a later time. I do check though attendance via the log. You don't have to type anything into the chat to be counted as here, as long as you joined in via the log. Then I count you as present for this class. And then you can review at your own leisure. You can pause as many times as you need to. If for some reason the pace was just beyond you or you missed something, you can always review. So those things can happen. And I do provide you that option as well, but I do expect everyone to be here synchronously. The reason why we have synchronous attendance though is so that you can ask me questions, because we do worksheets together while we have meetings. And I want to make sure that, if you have an issue, the best way to get me to help you is to be here with me so that we can work on it together. All right. Well, let's pause for a second on that though, on the house rules and all of that kind of stuff, which you can read in the chat. Do be mindful to keep your microphones off unless you are currently asking a question. The same thing with your videos, to keep it more streamlined and easy for those of us who are, watching my screen. Keep your own screens off until you actually need my help, and then at that point, we can turn them on one at a time and keep it easier for me to keep track of things for people. So welcome. We are Art 110, Art Appreciation. We'll talk about what that means for us. Basically, art appreciation. Let's hit the syllabus together real quick, and then we'll go over some of the general structure of the course in just a moment. So if you are taking, this is usually your general elective course. So if you're only taking one art class in your time here at Wingate, this is the class. And if you are interested in the arts, this is usually your first class, your sort of introduction to the arts. So we cover a lot of the basics of ground. And what we're trying to get you here is the reason why you have any kind of art appreciation at all in the university, why everyone is required, whether you're in chemistry, whether you're in, other branches of communications, no matter what field you're in, is you're at a liberal arts college. So liberal arts universities are based off of Greek philosophies about higher education. And so the Greek preference for learning systems is that they want to produce well-rounded contributing students or citizens that engage with society actively. So liberal arts means that a little bit of everything. Some mathematics, some sciences, some philosophy, some rhetoric, writing, and you also are expected to understand about the arts. That's meant to make you feel more versatile, more able to handle problem solving, more able to handle creativity. So what we cover here as part of your broad blanket general education is I'm helping you to develop visual literacy. Just like written language, just like oral language, visual or artistic communication has a language. And we are going to help you to decipher and decode that. And then we're going to help you use that language to form your own opinions about art and about arts. Got a mic live. Hold on, let's see. Got a live mic. Let's mute those until someone has a question. Good. Okay, so it helps you to develop your own visual literacy, your own understanding of the arts, and able to communicate what your opinion is about those things. So this class is designed to be providing you guys with an introduction to the guiding principles that inform effective art and give you guys the tools to identify and create design decisions in your own work, and also understand what's happening in the world around you. We have series of lectures. It is mostly a lecture class. That will be the majority of your interaction with this class. And those lectures are actually pre-recorded, so you can access them on your own time. There'll be written evaluations. Those are your opportunities to express your opinion. And there'll also be practical application. So we will do worksheets together. We're going to be exposed to a variety of art processes, makers, and theories, and you'll be supplementing your own artistic practice through the expansion of your vocabulary, your research into art history, and practice in structured art criticism, which is just academic speak for giving your opinion about art. You're going to be encouraged to develop your own artistic voice, to hone some problem solving skills as well as time management, and to engage in a repertoire of techniques. If you are, maybe a sophomore, junior, senior, you should find the course load in here quite manageable. And I can tell you about how to manage the course load in here pretty easily. If this is your first time in college, you're a freshman and you're just getting used to the university workload. If you do find it challenging balancing your workload in your first semester, then my greatest recommendation to you is to hit the Academic Resource Center. They have a lot of help for you with managing your course loads as you are transitioning to college. I don't consider this course to be especially demanding, but it may be tricky for you balancing it amongst all the other things that you are learning to balance. So you may find that the Academic Resource Center is helpful for you with getting with your balance, especially if writing is perhaps not something that you have the most experience with or the strongest suit. There is regular writing in this class. It's never very long. Generally speaking, we're looking at about a page to a page and a half of writing at any one given amount of time. But if writing is something that you find to be a little bit more intimidating, I really strongly suggest you hit the Academic Success Center to help you with that, or at least to get the ball rolling for you. Okay, so what are the objectives of this class? And of course, at any point you have a question, pop it in the chat, ask me through a microphone, use the raise hand feature. All of that kind of stuff will help me to alert you if there's something I need to explain more thoroughly, to cover in greater depth, or to repeat. Okay, so if you complete this course successfully, then you should come out of here having a basic understanding of the principles and the elements of design, have an aesthetic and conceptual awareness, so you'll understand like what things look like and what also how those looks are connected to their meaning. You'll have a voice in the critique of the art world, again, expressing your opinions. You'll improve your listening, your time management skills. You'll have a better understanding of the relationship between form and concept. So how do the elements and principles, or how does that visual language, the choices that we make, tie to meaning? Or an understanding of ideas in art, and then building an academic approach to open-ended or subjective concerns. And that is really the big thing about art that makes it important for everyone to take and be exposed to. A lot of your courses, mathematics, chemistry, etc., are very objective fields. 1 + 1 is always 2. There's no other way to really look about it. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in art, you deal with subjectivity, and subjectivity means that something can mean different things to different people. So we learn how to handle subjective application in this course. I think it's very important because our world is not black and white, and in fact there are billions of people out there, or millions into the billions. We're getting more, but there are millions of people out there. They all have different opinions, and so learning how to navigate a world wherein things can mean different things to different people is actually really an important skill. So yes, as I said before, we're primarily lecture. When we get together, once the rhythm of the semester starts, and we do kind of start off slow and then build up into weeks 2 or 3, before we hit our full course load. When we get to that full course load, what you'll find is a lot of our class time is going to be built around completing the worksheets and then talking about that week's topic so that you can have a better understanding of how to write your written responses. And then the lecture part, that is something that you can do on your own time whenever it is convenient to you. Lectures typically last 7 to 15 minutes. I think the longest one that you'll have this whole semester is between 20 and 25 minutes, because it's a large topic, it's a big special one, but typically your lectures will be like 7 to 15 minutes a piece. And you can watch those on your own. They are both the lectures and the demonstrations that happen when we're in recording time will be made available to you via YouTube on the channel it's associated with my university account. So in a typical week, you'll have lectures, you'll have readings, you'll have discussion questions and demonstrations, and then the assignments, you'll have 4 assignments in a given week. Once we're fully ramped up, not starting this week, but in a given week, you'll have a written response, generally about a page, and that's on your opinion. So you get to give your opinion about these artworks. I don't care if you like them. I don't care if you hate them. You're going to give your opinion about them. You'll have a quiz every week, and you'll have a worksheet every week. You'll also have some participation questions, but those get done during the lectures. Those are also just graded based on did you do them or not. I don't check for right or wrong. And then over the course of the whole semester, there are 3 larger evaluations. 2 are your exams, one's the midterm, one's the final, and then one of them is a research project. This is linked, that research project is linked into like the university standards of evaluation. So it is meant to demonstrate the results of everything that you've learned in this class. And for you guys, the research project is a PowerPoint. We'll talk about why I specifically choose PowerPoints for you when we get to that section. Participation is mandatory every week in the mode of weekly participation forms that are based on the material that gets covered in the lectures. There is no required text for this course. There may be supplemental text that can be helpful to you, but in this class, the main requirement for you guys, and I will pop that up in a different window real quick. What is the main reading for you guys? So that right there would be your weekly readings. It's a very large PDF. So, you can download it to your computer one time. Sometimes it may not work very well in your browser. So, you may find that you need to download it. It may not necessarily work in your browser itself, but this is the main reading and I provide it to you for free. Yes, it does take a hot minute to, yes, right there. So handouts for Art 110, and this is dealing with the elements and principles of design. If there are any other supplemental materials that I want you to review, I will post them in Canvas with that week's module. So while you do not have to pay for a textbook, you are required to acquire materials in this class. Not a ton. I think that for the most part, you will spend maybe 20, maybe 25 dollars on materials for this class, depending on how much you want to invest in them. And a lot of the materials you may already own. You're always responsible for taking your own notes. I would really strongly encourage you to take notes because both your quizzes every week and your exams, the midterm and the final, they're open note. So the better notes that you have, the better people do on those quizzes and exams. You do need to have some kind of smart device or computer in order to complete and access this course, to both access Canva and to access our Zoom meetings. I don't care if you join on a computer or via your phone, as long as you're here. And there are hands-on assignments throughout the course of the class that require these materials. You do not need materials until week 2. Now, I consider this week, because it's only a 2-day week, I consider this week to be week 0. And then next week is what I call week 1. And then the week after that is week 2. So it's not until that week, week 2, that you will need materials. And let's look at what those are. You will see that there's a course introduction section. This will always be the first module of your Canvas page. So this one gets pinned to the top and will always be here because it has links that you'll use throughout the whole semester. Got a message right. Our notes taken from the lectures for exams and quizzes. Yes. So I would say that lectures are definitely the main source for your notes. For quizzes and exams, those are the main sources, but your readings are where the vocabulary will be. I will talk about the vocabulary. We'll get to that section in the syllabus. We'll get to that in a minute. But the vocabulary list, most of that will come from your weekly readings, and I would suggest keeping that on hand and updated as you go through those. We will talk about that in more detail in just a second. But yes, that would answer that question. So yes, in terms of materials, I have both a written list, and I will give you a couple Amazon links because I've noticed that some materials are kind of out of stock right now in the places I normally would have told you to get them. I think just because it's the beginning of the school year and everyone's buying supplies. There is a video this week you need to watch this video as you are making your considerations for purchase, because this video is going to tell you all about anything that you want to, well, at least the beginning of what you would want to know about materials. If you have questions after watching this video about what materials you would need to purchase, then absolutely email me and I will answer that question for you. But there's also a written list as well of the materials that you will need. Let's see what they are. I am expecting everyone in this class, like my expectation is this class is built for people with little to no experience in art. If you have never picked up a pencil in your life to draw with, it is okay. You can handle the exercises here. They are designed for people as your first art exercises. Now, if you do have experience and you really enjoy some of the stuff, then you will see sometimes I'll say, hey, if you want to try something else, if you want to try something extra, you can try this. But the worksheets and the assignments are very simple, and it's a very trimmed down list so that even if you have never done anything in art before and you never draw, that's okay. I don't expect anyone here to be Picasso or Rembrandt. I expect you to be starting from the very beginning, and I treat you that way in this class. So the things that you'll need are a ruler. You'll need a flat edge at any point. So I don't care if it's a plastic ruler, a metal ruler, a wooden ruler, any kind of 12-inch ruler will work for you. You will need scissors and tape as well. Again, pretty much any kind will work, as long as the scissors cut, then they will work for you. And I would say masking tape works just fine. Scotch tape works just fine. You know, I mean, if you absolutely have no other choice, I suppose you could use something like duct tape. Maybe that's not the highest preference, but scissors and some tape. Um, and then we get into more of the like special supplies. So yes, you will need colored pencils. No, I do not recommend that you just buy dollar store ones. They are very cheaply made, which means that they have low quality materials. Dollar store colored pencils do not blend very well. And they do not have high pigmentation, so they appear very light and very pale. Um, normally what I recommend is the Prismacolor Scholar level, but they are out right now. They're currently sold out of the set that I normally would recommend on Amazon. Usually this is about $4 or $5 for a set, which is about what you should expect to pay. If you're paying about $4 or $5 for a 12 pack, you're doing okay. I do believe that they sell these at Walmart, and I know that they sell this at the Joann's Fabric and Crafts that's in the Monroe Mall as well. So you should be able to get this or something similar to it for about $4 to $5. Now, I did see when I was looking recently, let me see if it's still there. Do we have a question? We might have a mic on. Oh, I think we're good. Okay. There is a good deal right here. And I would say that these are going to be similar in level to Prismacolor Scholars. Definitely at least as good as Crayola. And if you can't get anything else, get Crayola. But these should be a little bit better than Crayola. And these are on a deal right now on Amazon. So if you do have a Prime account, the deal will not last forever, but this is a very good deal. The 24 pack for $5, that gives you twice as many as the Prismacolor would have been. So that's a really great option for you right now. And that these should be as much as you need. Way more than you'll need for this class, actually. And that's a very good price. In reality, you only actually need 4 pencils, but it's kind of rare that someone is going to sell them individually unless you're buying super nice ones, which they will at Joann's sell you nice ones individually. So if you really like colored pencils and you want to try out some really nice ones, you could just buy individually the yellow, the blue, the red, and the black. But as long as you buy a pack, I can't imagine a pack that wouldn't sell you those 4 in it. So you will need some colored pencils. The Scholar line or the Student line is usually a little bit less expensive than the Premier line. If you cannot find anything else, then Crayola will work pretty well. It will definitely be better than like a 97-cent pencil pack. Okay, you will also need artist drawing pencils as well. And so that means graphite pencils. So they are similar. They're made of the same material as like your standard writing pencil is, but you will have more variety. You can actually have ones that write darker and ones that write lighter as well. So artist graphite pencils, you only need 3. If you wind up with a larger set, then that's fine. But 3 is the minimum. You might be able to find that more easily again at Walmart or at Joann's, but they do sell some sets here. Frankly, I think that Amazon is a little high for what you are paying. I would think that in store you might be able to save like $1 or $2. But a set of these would work just fine for you for $6. If you're really watching your budget, then find some time to go to Walmart or the craft store, and they will probably have a set for a little bit less. You know what? Actually, let me see if I can get into their store thing. I wonder if I can let's set it to, let's set it to Monroe, and let's see real quickly what they might have at Walmart. Oh, they actually are comparable in price. Okay, so they are close to the Amazon cost. Okay, this one does come. This one also comes with an eraser and a pencil sharpener, which might be worth it to you. So it does look like they are between $6 and $7 for the artist pencil set. Right there, depending on if you want to pay like $1 extra and get an eraser and a pencil sharpener incorporated with that. Okay, the next thing you'll need is you will need a black marker that is not a Sharpie. Sharpies don't draw particularly well. They're meant for labeling. They're not meant for drawing, and we're going to be drawing in this class. So my personal favorite marker is the Tombow dual-ended pen. So what that means is that it's two-sided. Let's do black. Right there. This is probably the best deal on Amazon right here, is the 2 for $8.89, which means that you can split it with one other person. Well, I guess that's the best deal. If you're getting 6 for $16, that is definitely cheaper a piece, but then that means you need to find 6 other people to split with. Whereas this one, you only have to split with one other person. I like it because it has a thick side for fills and a thin side for outlines. That will make your worksheets a lot easier if you have both a thick and a thin one. Let's see if they sell Tombow at Walmart or not. They sell, that's not the dual brush one. Ooh, $10. My goodness, they are proud of that. $16. My goodness. Okay, so it is cheaper on Amazon. Right there. So cheaper on Amazon at the moment. I am sure that, you know, a wide variety of markers will work. I just happen to like that one because you get 2 for 1. And avoid the words permanent marker or Sharpie. Again, those are not really meant for drawing and for outlining, and they can be frustrating for you when you're trying to fill the worksheet out. Honestly, the Fudenosuke right there would work okay. They're not as versatile, but they will work pretty well. You may be spending more time filling in with the Fudenosuke than you would with the brush pen. And so the reason why I recommend this one to you is because it will save you time on your worksheets. You'll have to spend more time with your fills with a smaller marker than you would with a skinny marker. So markers, Sharpies, or sorry, markers, pencils. And then I also recommend that you get a nice eraser. One that is better than just the standard eraser that comes on a pencil. Pink streaks or badly erased lines will cost you points on your projects, as you saw in some of those. Whoops, got a microphone.
What did I just do?
It's okay. We'll find
What is this?
out. All right, that happens sometimes. Although if you do have a question, just let me know. So we have, a nice eraser can be helpful. I would say that if an eraser does come with these, like your graphite pencils, then that's probably a pretty good eraser, good enough for us. They do make eraser sets, and I do talk about that in the materials video. So if you want more information about erasers, watch the materials video. And if you want more information because you really like colored pencils, so if you're coming into this class already really enjoying coloring, then I will actually show you when we get later on in the semester some techniques to do blending, transitions, and gradients. And if you are interested in that, then I would suggest some of the blender materials. And again, I talk about that in the video, but since those are extra materials, you do at least have to have some kind of eraser in this class because there will be times where you may erase. But as far as like getting really nice quality ones, the reason why I recommend them is because they make your life easier. If you don't get the extra materials, then you may find yourself working on your worksheets a little bit longer to make sure that like your outline's fully erased or something like that. Okay, so again, be sure to watch the materials video. Do we have initial questions about materials for this class? Again, you don't need them until week 2, which will be our 3rd meeting together. All right. So, of course, if I get any questions, I'll field them as I get them. We did talk about attendance before. We meet through Google Calendars, which is technically it's a Google meeting, but then they let Zoom filter it for us. Are you going to need a sketchbook? No, you do not have to have a sketchbook. I will tell you though that you do have to print a few things, and when we get to the worksheet section in just a second, I'll show you what it is that you have to print. But no, you don't have to have a sketchbook. If you have a sketchbook or a notebook that you like to take notes in, absolutely you can use it, but it is not required for the class. So yes. And as I said, we meet on Fridays. Everything for you guys will be due on Wednesdays. That's your rhythm for this semester. Everything outside of maybe the final exam will be assigned on a Friday, due on a Wednesday. I do have, requirements for us to meet synchronously as well. And again, I do take attendance through the log. You don't have to do anything to be counted as present as long as you have logged into our Zoom meeting. I just grab the log, I check you off, and you're good. Okay, yes, here we are. We're going to start talking more about assignments, and so that's where we'll hit a few more things in more depth. So everything, whenever something is due, and for us it's on Wednesday, everything is always due at midnight. So 11:59 is when I put it, so there's no confusion about which 12 o'clock we're talking about. But yes, everything is due at midnight. In this class, I do have deadlines. So of course, on the due date, you have a chance to get the full points. If you submit something after the due date, it's a 10-point reduction, and you have 1 week for that. So what that does is that prevents you from getting to November. You've missed 8 assignments, or 8 weeks worth of assignments, and then you try and make them all up in November. That will not happen. You have 1 week to make things up with a small deduction, and then after that 1 week, that's it. We move on. You can totally survive this class with pretty little impact if you only miss 1 or 2 assignments. Missing 1 or 2 assignments is not the end of the world. However, the more assignments you miss, the harder it is to come back from that. So if you've missed about 1/3 of your assignments, you may not pass this class. Because what's 1/3 of 100? Well, that's 30 points. That's putting you like at a 70 if you make up every single other thing with 100, so you probably are not going to pass if you are starting to miss like 1/3 of your assignments. It is up to you to maintain your understanding of your position in this class, and that is what it is. So 10 points per assignment, 5 points for participation assignments if you miss them. And then after 2 weeks of being missed, that's it. They become zeros, and the zeros can't be made up. So Here's the grading breakdown. It should be pretty much the same thing as you see in every other class. And then here is how I weigh your grades. 15% of your class grade just comes from participation. What does participation look like? Participation looks like a Google form. So every week, starting this week, you'll go to participation questions, and you'll see the lecture for that week, and you'll see the form for that week. So what I would suggest you do is have your computer and your phone. On one of them, you have the lecture, and on the other one, you have the Google form. In the form, you'll type out your name and your email, and then you'll see a series of questions depending on how many lectures. Within a week, you may have one or you may have two lectures. For the most part, you'll have two. This first week, you have one. You'll see whichever lectures, and you'll also see the video. You'll notice hold on one second. All right, no, there it is. That's the one. Sorry, there we are. So you'll have that, and you'll see when it comes to a certain part of the video, you'll have questions, and those questions will be repeated right here. And so as the lecture is watched, which this first one is 7.5 minutes, that's all the lecture you have to watch for this week. While you're watching that lecture, you answer the questions. By the time the lecture is done, you submit the participation questions. I don't grade them for right or wrong because usually I'm just asking you your opinion. As long as you do them, and as long as you don't just put I don't know or NA or whatever, on there, then you get the points for your participation questions. So 15% of your grade is very easy to get. You just, check in, answer the question, and move on from there while you're watching the lecture. Then 20% of your grade comes from your worksheets. That is what you have bought your materials for. So in order to complete the worksheets, you must have them. Where they are, go to the top module, and I want you to hit print out weekly worksheets right here. Go ahead. If you don't have a place to keep them nice and neat and safe, then you can print them out once a week. But my recommendation would be get a folder where you can keep your worksheets safe and clean. And then all 13 pages, it's actually only, I think, 10 exercises. Some of them have a second page of instructions on them. So it's only 10 exercises, 13 pages, and you don't have to print them out in color. You can print them out in black and white, wherever there's an on-campus printer. If you have your own personal printer, you can print it out yourself there as well. If we are campus residents and we have to pay. So if you are a campus resident, probably the easiest printers to find are in the library. I would say that is the easiest place to find printers. Most student buildings should also have a print room, but I don't know if those are only available to faculty or if they're also available to students. That will depend on the room. The one that I can absolutely guarantee is definitely the library is going to have a place where you can print out. As far as paying goes, I know that they do draw from your student accounts. I do not know if the university, if you have to put money into the account or if the university gives you a certain budget that they provide. And then you can draw from that. That would be a question maybe for student finances. Or maybe if another student does know and wants to post into the chat if you get a budget from the university for printing or not. But I would definitely print it black and white is fine. Don't print double-sided, because you'll get bleed through and that will make deductions on your worksheets. So printer paper is not good enough for you to be able to do our worksheets double-sided. So it does need to be single-sided printing. And I would really strongly encourage you to print off 2 copies, because you never know when you're going to accidentally make a mistake on one and you might have to start over. So having a second copy can be really helpful, so that if you do make a mistake, you can just jump onto the next page. When you do get them printed, make sure that you keep them nice and neat and clean. Again, while I do not expect you to be, like an experienced drawer, I do expect everyone to be neat in this class. So I do put as part of your grade that your paper has to look nice, because, if you painted a painting and it was going to a gallery and then you kicked that painting down the stairs, and it was all scuffed and muffed and all that kind of stuff before you even presented it, no one's going to want to purchase that painting. It's not in as good quality condition. We're going to work on that practice ourselves. So part of your grade on your worksheets is your paper neat and clean? Is it free of wrinkles? Have you done the things that you need to do to keep it in its best condition? I will also, on our first week of worksheets, which is going to be week 2 on our 3rd meeting, I will demonstrate for you guys taking good pictures. So good pictures means there's not a lot of heavy shadows. You need to make sure that your lights are on, everything looks good for you to submit. So when I'm grading your worksheets, of course, you do have to use the materials that I'm talking about in the worksheet in order to get the full points. And then I'm looking for 2 things. I'm looking for project concept and I'm looking for craft. So the project concept is, did you follow the instructions? Did you follow the rules? Are the things in the right order? Are things demonstrating the correct properties that I'm asking you to demonstrate? If you can do that, you'll be okay. And then the second thing is your craftsmanship. And again, craftsmanship is not as much tied into some kind of skill level. It is more tied into, can you be neat? Can you demonstrate what we might call muscle control or muscle memory, which means that you are working to, if we're doing lines and we're doing outlines, have you put in the effort to draw your straight lines straight? That's why we have a ruler. Have you put in the effort to make sure that when you fill in outlines, do you fill them in completely, or is it very streaky? When we get to coloring, do you take the time to practice your coloring to color smoothly, or is your coloring kind of patchy? And I do demonstrate for you, and we work together on the skills to have straight lines, smooth filling, and nice transitions. We work on that together. So if you can demonstrate those, basic concepts, then you should have no problem with the worksheets. And again, the worksheets are things that we do together on weeks. We at least get you started on the worksheet if you don't complete it fully in class, which is why I would really recommend that you have those materials ready and on hand when we come together on Fridays, so that you use your time most efficiently. Like, feeling like there are 4 assignments a week may at face value feel like a lot, but remember that the participation assignments are done by the time your lecture is watched, and the worksheets are done, or at least mostly done, together in class on Fridays. And the quizzes, which we'll get to in a second, and the written responses are also pretty manageable. Okay, so we have written responses right here. So every week I'm going to give you, for the first 2 weeks that we have written responses, which will not be this week, it will start next week. I make the choice for you, but then after that, I actually let you choose between a few options of what artworks you want to respond to. And you're going to write your opinion about these certain artworks, given in mind the theme of the current week. So these are your opportunity to practice stating your opinions and to practice using your vocabulary as well that you'll learn every week. So written responses are always due on Wednesdays at midnight. They do have to be tight, and I am looking for formatting. You are in an art and design class, so visual formatting is something that I grade you on. So it must be graded well. I mean, it must be formatted well for easy reading. That means proper spacing, proper fonts, proper margins. These prompts are responses to artworks, artists' movements, and the elements and principles of design. Outstanding responses do not merely answer the prompt questions, but they take time to look at the art on an in-depth level. The biggest pitfall for students is, generally speaking, that they don't ever proofread. And so you make a goofy mistake. You have like wacky sentences that don't quite come back to the point. That tends to be your biggest area. So reading it over, or just grabbing a friend or a roommate or another person in the class and having them read it over, generally speaking, hits a lot of your issues. If you are having difficulty with writing, or you're having difficulty with your workload, again, that is what the Academic Success Center is for. They are very good at helping students, especially students in my class, get used to having a regular expression of themselves in the written word. I will spend next week, we're going to spend because we're going to introduce the written response. Next week, we're going to spend an in-depth time looking at the responses and looking at what one requires and how you can prepare yourself for one. So we will spend a lot more time with that particular assignment next week, when the first one is going to be assigned to you. But I will go ahead and say there are a few things that you need to know about responses, especially if this is your first time in college. These are based on research, most of which will come from the resources that I give you each week. So I actually help you out with the research. However, research does require citation when you are using somebody else's words. Every time you upload a paper, you will receive a similarity score that will denote your reliance on words that are not your own. So any paper that has 15% or higher similarity scores, which again, you receive that similarity score as soon as you submit, or within a minute of submission, and I'll show you how to check that next week. Any paper with higher than 15% similarity scores has to include the bibliography with citation. Any paper that has higher than 30% similarity scores, quoted material, has to be rewritten and resubmitted. So you can resubmit as many times as you want to. But if you submit that paper and your similarity score is like at a 45, you must rewrite it, or else it becomes a 0 by the deadline. I'm not gonna immediately like jump in there and give you a 0, but if it is not rewritten before the due date, that becomes a 0, and 2 plagiarism 0s becomes an academic integrity infringement. The reason why I do this is because these papers are designed for your opinion and your exploration. And so while researching is necessary to supplement your opinion, I am not nearly as interested in you quoting other people as I am in you using your own voice. So your own voice is required for these papers. And so that means the majority of the writing needs to be not quotes. It needs to be your voice. In addition to that, let's talk about AI and things like ChatGPT. These are also now officially by the university, and definitely in my class, under the plagiarism blanket. Next week, when we talk about written responses, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT as a tool. Now, as a tool does not mean that it replaces your need to write in your voice. Visually, I am really kind of learning the ChatGPT voice, and so I am myself starting to understand and detect AI. And even beyond that, I put all of your writing through scanners that are designed to detect AI. You may be able to elude those scanners for a week or two, but they're constantly learning, just like your ChatGPT is constantly learning. So if you are constantly like flirting with danger and submitting AI oriented assignments, you are eventually going to get caught. It's going to become an academic integrity issue. You're going to get zeros, and eventually you may get reported. So my advice is to tune in next week, learn how I teach you how to use ChatGPT as your tutor and as your tool, and to help you to get better clarity on ideas and topics, and then use that as your research for you to then do the writing of the paper. Because at the end of the day, you just throwing the prompt into ChatGPT and having it spit out something doesn't help you in any kind of way. It doesn't help you become more well-rounded. It doesn't help you feel more confident in your ability to express yourself. So it is a plagiarism issue. It is part of the school's plagiarism policies. And then the last thing that you'll have every week is you'll have a quiz. We do have a quiz this week. This one is a practice quiz. So as long as you fulfill it, you get 100 on it. And this one, the first one, is not timed. After this week, your quizzes will be timed. So your quizzes will be timed, I believe. Since they're 10 questions, I believe that they're set at 15 minutes. They are absolutely open note, and they cover both your notes from the lectures, and they cover the vocabulary for the week. And so that's what this is right here. So within every week, this is the whole semester's list, but within every week, you will see a new list of vocabulary terms that you are responsible for that week. Those may come from the lectures, but they also come from your weekly reading. We are not cumulative in this class. So the only thing that is cumulative is the midterm and the final. The quizzes, the responses, and the worksheets, they only focus on the topic of that week. So within, not so much intro week, but when we get to week 1, the only vocabulary that you are responsible for in week 1 is the week 1 vocabulary section. Then the next week, week 2, it's that week's vocabulary section. My recommendation is to take this list, copy and paste it into Word, or write it out in a notebook if you like to write physically, and then one at a time as you go in the reading, or if they're from the lecture, like these are covered in the reading, the elements and principles, because the readings are always focused on elements and principles, whereas these come from the lecture right here. So those will come from the video, because the topic is only covered in the videos, whereas this topic is covered in the reading. I would just, either by hand or type out, I would just go through one at a time and type out your glossary, and then I would have that list on hand, because you will see at least a few of these show up in every quiz for every week. And eventually when you get to the midterm, yes, you will have a whole section of your midterm that is only vocabulary words. So if you've already typed out your definitions or written out your definitions, then it's pretty easy for you to just go boom, 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 boom into the fill in the blanks and fill out your vocabulary. The practice quiz is mandatory. It is pass fail. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there are exams that you will take throughout twice in the semester. One is your midterm, the other one is your final. I do give you a practice midterm before it so that you can get comfortable with the layout of the midterm. So just know that you do have 2 major tests in here that are worth a lot larger portion of your grade, and that the final is cumulative, so it does cover the whole semester, though it focuses more of the questions will come from the second half, but it does cover some of the first half. There is a third exam grade, and that is your research presentation. So we are required to give you a learning objective that is meant to demonstrate everything that you've understood throughout the course. And I decided to make yours PowerPoints because I think that no matter what field you're in, it is pretty likely that there will be a chance that you will need to do a PowerPoint presentation. So we might as well learn how to do good ones, because you can have great PowerPoints and you can have terrible PowerPoints. And I have seen probably in my life a lot more bad ones than I have seen good ones. So we're going to learn how to create good ones so that wherever you go, you'll be able to create designs that are effective, because that is a lot of times it's your money that's on the line in a presentation, because you're either presenting for a grant, or maybe you're presenting for graduation, or you're presenting for a new job, like your portfolio of some sort of work, or maybe you're presenting because you want your project to be selected by a certain committee. And so a good presentation will enhance, a good proposal, whereas a bad presentation can make a good proposal look amateur. So we're going to work on PowerPoints in this course. We're going to design for one. You do not have to present it, though. So we're going to design it and we're going to write some speaker notes for it, but the presentation of it is not going to be required for this class. The only thing that I'm grading is the design work in the PowerPoint, and then the research that goes into the speaker notes for it. There is extra credit in this class. We'll cover that when we get closer to the midterms and the finals. They do add points to your midterms and your finals. And then if you do have any disabilities that you need accommodations for, such as needing extra time on your exams, your quizzes, any kind of flexibility, then you need to send that to me proactively, because I cannot apply accommodations retroactively. So if you get all the way to the midterm and you never submit any accommodations, and then you bomb the midterm and you've not been doing well on your quizzes, and then you send me an email that says, oh, well, I actually do have accommodations and I'd like to have those applied, I will apply them for your future quizzes and I will apply them to your final, but I will not be applying them. You can't go back and retake any assignments that you already submitted. So if you have accommodations, let me know so that I can help you as much as possible. And again, with the honor code, that includes all plagiarism. It includes copying other people's work. This applies to your worksheets as well. You do not get to submit the same worksheet as another student. So while I encourage you, if you'd like to work, alongside with somebody else while you're in this class, that's totally fine, but you do not submit the same worksheet as another person. The worksheet is meant to be representative of you and you alone. Again, the AI is covered in this, where AI is not to be used to write any assignment, whether it is your written assignments, whether it is your essays when we come to the eventual exams, your speaker notes. They will all be checked for plagiarism, and they will all be, dealt with such if there is any kind of copying from outside sources or utilization of AI as a replacement for your own thoughts and writing. All right, in general, questions about the syllabus before we talk about what you need to do this week? All right. So just as a preview, if you want to kind of know what the final project is going to look like, we will talk about it in more depth over the course of the semester, because it is a semester-long project. If you are interested in a preview of it, you're more than welcome to look. But for us, we're mostly going to focus on getting yourself familiar with the class. And then what do you need to do this week in order to stay in this class? Because I am required to get an assignment from you before the add drop deadline so that they can know that you are still intending to be in this course. So I'm actually going to, let me go ahead and put a due date on this real quick for this Wednesday. Everyone must do it by, both of these 2 assignments must be completed by this Wednesday, the 23rd, or it will be, or you will have a warning put on you and you may be dropped from the class. So I have to know that you are here and that you intend to stay in this class. And the only way that I will know that is by you submitting these assignments. Okay, back to student view. Boom, boom. So yes, after this first week where I just gave everybody an email to make sure that we knew where to go, every class meeting that we have beyond here, go to home, go to the class meetings calendar, and you should see, fingers crossed, yes, right here, you click on Art 110F for Fridays. That should take you to the link to the Zoom meeting. So that's how you'll get to class every week. I absolutely, if you have not watched this already, go ahead and watch the welcome video. Also, if you have not watched it already, watch the materials video. Those are kind of your introductions for the class. They cover stuff that you need to know. As you are purchasing your materials, if you need to pull up the list, pull up the written list right here. It is written out for you. I would suggest, on what computer you want to use, that you download your weekly readings. It's the same file every week. And then I would also recommend, as you are preparing for next week, which is your first week of vocabulary, you get that vocabulary list set up. And I would also recommend that you get your weekly worksheets printed out by week 2. So you don't have to have these by next Friday. It's the Friday after that you have to have those by. And then let's see what you need to do this week. All right, you got your first lecture. And again, remember that I would suggest you open this in one device and then have your participation questions on another device. Or you could do it in tabs, and then go back and forth. But you do need to fill out, there's only 2 for this week. I think you can handle it. Fill out your 2 participation questions while you watch that first lecture, hit submit, and you've already got some points. And then the last thing you must do is you must do your practice quiz. You'll see some artist options right here. You'll also see that I link that right here as well. So when you take the practice quiz, this is the only quiz where it's just participation based. If you get it wrong, then you'll get a correction, but it will be just, if you did it, then that's good. So when you take the quiz, the first 3 questions it's going to ask you is your first 3 preferences of artists from this list that you would like to do for your semester-long research. So I would suggest you pick somebody that you think is interesting, that you like. I do have you pick your first 3 though, because I'm sorry, I can't do 20 lectures about Walt Disney. It is first come, first serve. So the first people to get the participation or the practice quiz submitted, those are the people that get the highest priority for their first choices. I tried to pick artists from across the world and across time. It is in chronological order. So I've got my oldest artists are at the front. And then if you keep on scrolling, you've got 65 choices. You'll come to my still living artists as well. So my contemporary, recently deceased, Basquiat died quite young. But Tim Burton's still quite alive. Jeff Koons is still quite alive. Annie Leibovitz is quite alive. So you'll work all the way through your contemporary artists. I also tried to pick artists with a bunch of different styles as well. So you'll have some artists who are like into pop art. You'll have artists who are into more traditional art. You'll have sculptors as well as animators, as well as painters, and ceramicists. So when you take the quiz, hit begin. This one is the only one that's not timed, just to give you plenty of time. So you'll choose your first 3 artists. And then after that, the remainder of the questions 4 through 10 are questions from your syllabus. There is one thing that does occasionally trip people up, and that's just that if you are using the welcome video to answer some of those questions, the welcome video may have the wrong days for due dates and for when assignments come due or when assignments are assigned to you, because it was made a couple semesters ago, and I realize now that I should have just never mentioned days on it. But just know for us, our class, in the syllabus, it is written that our assignments are assigned on Friday and we have our assignments due on Wednesday. Okay, and then that's all you have to do. Do absolutely make sure that you submit these, because if you do not submit these two by Wednesday, then I am going to mark you as not interested in the class and not having participated in the class, and then that's going to, cause complications for you where you will probably get dropped if you don't do them. And they're just participation based. I think they should be fine. So next week, come prepared. You don't have to have your materials or your worksheets just yet. Next week, come prepared. We're going to talk about your written responses. We're going to talk about how to research well, and we're going to talk about how to use ChatGPT as a tool for success and not just, some kind of shortcut to get out of doing actual work or actual thought. If you have any questions at this point, I usually stay, after I dismiss you guys, I stay online for about a minute just to field if there's anybody who has any questions. Otherwise, at this point, I hope you have an excellent weekend. You are dismissed, and I will stay behind for any questions that you might have right now.